what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Chris Hillman, Dank, Dave Rakia Gafford, David Robinson, David Wayne Foster, Dick Earth Skeptic, Edwin Johnson, Erwin Jennison's Phoenix Hung, Fireball X, Godrockin, Henrik86, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Maria Neelands, Missouri Bear, Muted, NA Literalist, Nathan Thompson, Naibai, Rob H, Skeptic936, Steve ALM, Texas Mike, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Unbelievable Productions, and Windrider. So a massive shout out of thanks to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by a couple of people in G+, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord, so I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
I just wonder if this is better when I'm talking.
Hopefully when 10th Man gets here, I'm going to ask him to do the housekeeping questions, because yesterday the whole show, it didn't matter that I restarted the live show, the whole show was terrible, recording and live stream. So I spent all weekend integrating a piece of software called RTX Voice into all of the different software that I use. And I thought I did it correctly. I tested it as well. I did a live stream testing it. And while it seems to work okay if you've just got one line running through it, if you've got a whole desk full of different lines running through it, it just gets confused and just causes all sorts of audio headaches. So last night, I spent all night unintegrating it into all of the different pieces of software. But now that I've done that, it's easy to make a mistake when you're dealing with so many different lines. So I want to make sure that the live stream's running okay once it starts at 2 o'clock. So hopefully 10th Man can actually do the housekeeping if he turns up. And that way I can actually go to the live stream and just check it's running okay. On mute, obviously.
You could run a quick, just a temporary test stream, maybe just to see how it turns out.
So have you got further away or something? Because you've now gone from being okay and listenable to I can't really hear what you're saying.
No, I'm standing close. Maybe I didn't turn my volume up. Is that better on my voice?
Better. Yes, that's better.
I'll just have to speak louder. I was just saying maybe you could do a test stream, like just a test live stream real quick, just to make sure everything's working.
Nah, I don't want to do that. The problem with doing a test stream is that, I don't know why, if you do a second stream, it'll always be less advertised than the first. So the first, they'll go out, they'll let people know, potentially, not always, if we're in a time of deep censorship for whatever reason, then for me especially, you might not reach anybody, even your own subscribers. But that aside, the way it should work is, the first live stream that you put out will go and get publicised to all your people that have hit the bell icon and things like that. But if you just immediately put a second one out, that necessarily won't go out as a notification to people who've hit the bell and various other means that they have to distribute it. So you're going to widely advertise an audio test, which isn't what I want to do. I mean, obviously, if I start on time and it isn't correct, like yesterday, I'll do my utmost to try and correct it. But there comes a point where you've just got to get on with it, audio failing or no audio, because otherwise you've just got an entire show of me trying to correct audio issues. And while it's horrendous, you can just about listen to yesterday's show. It's going to go out tonight for the people who are watching this. Listening to this particular bit of the show, it's yesterday's show on the second channel, Nathan Oakley channel. But yeah, it'll go out tonight in real time for us on the second channel, and I'm loath to even watch it because I know how bad it is. But there we go. That's such is life.
Okay, does this sound better? I'm back to the old mic. Is that better?
Yeah. Either or, really. As long as you speak up, I think it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I wish I could sit down in front of a computer and do this, but I can't. I'm trying to cook, clean, Take care, little ones.
Hey, 10th man.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's the weather? Sunny or gloomy?
It's all good. It's a bit overcast. It's all good. Any chance you can do the housekeeping when we go live?
Yeah, I can do housekeeping.
Thank you very much. I want to thoroughly check the audio. I've just explained to Paul, I won't repeat it because we're recording, but the audio is terrible yesterday, so I need to double check it, and if you're doing the housekeeping, it means I can actually keep an eye on it rather than,
Okay.
There's certain
Just
production things you cannot...
Pass me the baton when it's time, and I'll go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I was going to say there's certain things you just can't do production-wise when you're doing something in front of the camera or in front of the mic. There's a certain level of multitasking that is either beyond my capabilities or just not possible. Either way.
That's fine.
About 80%.
Who do we got?
Go on. Sorry.
No, it's all right. So who do we got? Paul's on, and you and me, right?
Neil, Righteous, Sinclair, Lena. Can't read it. The text is too small. What's your name, my friend?
Sink cleanser. Just always hanging out here.
Sink lenser. Have I said that right?
Like sin cleanser. Like two words that just combined.
Okay.
Like facial cleanser.
Usually they say skin cleanser or skin cancer. All these types of... Yeah, but like cleanser.
I get it. It's sin. And then the next bit starts with the C. So it's sin cleanser. Okay.
I thought you first said skin cleanser. I was going to say he's got 7 layers for each argument.
Don't forget Neil.
Yeah, hey Neil.
No.
I did say Neil.
Yeah, you did.
I can't
How
hear
you doing, Neil?
Yesterday's audio was bad.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's me wanting to improve without sounding rude everyone else. So I've just I was about to say to 10th man, I'm about 80% done treating the audio in this room, so treating the acoustics as opposed to software or anything else. And it's expensive to do, but obviously once there's an improvement, which there is now, definite excuse me as I clear my horrible throat, there's definitely an improvement for me. Obviously I want that to translate across the whole show, and that's just not possible. I've been looking at various different pieces of software that can do this, but they all seem to only be applicable through one line, which isn't very useful, whereas the RTX voice that I tested seemed, on paper at least, to be able to do it with multiple lines running in and out of it, which certainly on paper it worked. I could get it to integrate, everything could see it, and it all went in and it all went out and it all went to the audience and everybody could be heard. It just sounded horrific. So it definitely could do it, just didn't seem to function as intended. But there we go, that's life, isn't it? You've got to try these things. Could have been beautiful, could have been wonderful, could have improved the acoustics of everybody. Not the acoustics, the sound, sorry.
Well, until it rains, you don't know where the leak is, right?
Well, there is a problem to be solved, so I am looking for a solution that has a problem to be solved. I'm not just trying to invent a problem to be solved. There is obviously audio issues for anybody who's out and about, or Chocolate saying, for example, when he's got loads of people talking in the background. Well, RTX voice is designed to get rid of that. That's his purpose. That was my intention. When Chocolate's talking, it'd be great if we didn't have to hear his background noise. Now, that's just one of those things. I'm not moaning about it. I'm not saying that, I'd rather have Chocolate here with background noise than not here at all. But by the same token, if I can do something about that, if I can clear it up with software, then I'm more than willing to at least try. It just doesn't always work out the way you intended.
Well, see, now that matches your background, because you work in high-end audiovisual, so you know what's out there and you know how much better it could be with that new technology.
Meh, sort of. I mean, no. The stuff that I worked with was always either active in terms of electronics to produce a physical sound, a mechanical, you know, interaction between electronics and sound and hearing. Whereas the things that I'm talking about are more electronic based, aren't they? You know, remove sound suppression of background noise. That's very much electronic and newfangled stuff that I've got no clue about. Literally, I don't know anything about this software. Half the time I have to ask Anthony or someone else. I just have to get the stuff to work. So as far as the computer based stuff, which is pretty much all of it, I don't really know what I'm doing. You know, I'm fumbling around and learning as I go. And don't get me wrong, I can do what I do, but you know, I'm no expert by any stretch of the imagination, despite my background in sound and video. No, I really don't have a clue. The new stuff is new.
Well, I remember you said, I think it was to Anthony, the nuances, because you're able to pick it up with your ears. So now, because there is newfangled EMI, it's not the old school technology where you change something you're used to. You have to learn a whole new discipline with computers and software and code and how is it written, what's it supposed to do. But your ears still pick up things. So you want to fix that, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. So that's passive, though. So the stuff that I've done to the room is all... There's two things that it's achieving. One is that I can hear you clearer. So I want to hear you speak more intelligibly. I'm not saying you don't, but I'm just saying in terms of the reproduction at my end, if it's clearer, it's clearer. And that's one of the things I want to achieve. I want to be able to hear what you're saying with better accuracy. Because the clearer I can hear... I mishear things. You know, because of the room acoustics, you know, it's just it was a mess of mud and soup, and you just can't really distinguish certain things, and you mishear things, and that's no good. I want to hear clearly. So when I ask people if they're deaf, often that is actually a contributing factor. They genuinely do mishear because they think they've heard something, and they haven't. But anyway, that aside, the other reason to do it is so I sound clearer. In other words, my diction and the tone and timbre of my voice is clearer to the audience. You know, it's my show, obviously I'm talking a lot of the time, therefore me being clearer is beneficial to the audience, and most of what people actually take in on YouTube is not visual. It's auditory.
Yeah.
So that's what people are focused on. Often people will download stuff as MP3s, you know, they'll just get the audio. So as much as I like having nice background images and often as things presented, those are additions to the meat and potatoes of what the show actually provides for most people, and most shows on YouTube provide to most people. It's mostly auditory.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't help to have half the audience, if not more, who knows, depends on what day, be the globetards who insist on obfuscation, and you need to hear everything they say, because they come in here with words and phrases that if you just miss one, you thought they said something, because they're up to no good trying to not talk on the really is level, if you know what I'm saying. So it's even more important here.
It's a throwback, because it's what I used to do long before doing this. So, you know, my main career, the one I wanted to get into, so for all the other jobs I did as reps and sales positions, it was to get into a job selling audio equipment. And, you know, the pinnacle of that was when I was selling to studios. Well, in that process, I learned all about acoustics, but never really employed any of it. And it was long after I'd worked in hi-fi, like domestic audio. And in domestic audio, they don't talk about it at all. And now I know why. You know, it's because domestic audio, they're selling you like crack. It's like chasing the dragon. You go into a demonstration facility, which is normally of a reasonable standard, and you hear equipment sounding great. You take it home to your very small room, small by comparison to an auditorium. You know, that's not a not small room. Everyone's room is small. Doesn't matter how big your room is. Anyway, you take it to that environment and it sounds garbage, because you've got all these room reflections and all of these horrible standing waves, all of the crap you don't need for a good sound. And obviously then you get your brand new shiny piece of equipment and it's not as good as you hoped. So what do? You go straight back to the dealer and buy more equipment, not necessarily attack the room. And in the process of treating this room, although I touched on acoustics, you know, I just vaguely discussed them with some of the engineers. That's it. You know, I didn't go into any detail. Whereas in hundreds of hours of watching material and looking up stuff on the internet and research, and you figure out that there's a limit to the audio equipment that you can put into a small room, bearing in mind that all rooms are small, domestic, and therefore you reach a ceiling with the reproduction quality pretty quickly. In fact, very quickly. So back when I was selling this stuff, for thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, with the professional stuff up to millions of pounds worth of equipment, you could easily outstrip the room within $500. You could go beyond the room's capabilities so fast. And it's been a real eye-opening experience. The differences in performance of both the recording when I've been testing it. Obviously, none of this has gone out to an audience, but when I've been testing the improvements for myself, so I can get an idea of how much improvement I'm making as I'm making the changes. It's huge. Miles bigger than the equipment changes that I've ever made. I'm like, my God, why doesn't anybody know about this? Until it dawned on me. If people are buying passive panels, they're not buying electronics. So if you're an electronics salesperson, the last thing you want to do is tell people about acoustics. You want to tell them all about how the equipment will make it better, right? Which amuses me. Studios, totally different kettle of fish. They're looking at the room acoustic first because that's the biggest limitation, and then they move on to equipment.
I used to work in the sales in a stereo shop for a while, and this is back in the day, of course, and people would come in, and from car stereos to speakers to home units. And, it was before the whole, movie setup for the home and 5.1 surround sound. There was none of that. So they come in, and of course, back then you'd have Sansui, Marantz, let's see what else, Pioneer, a bunch of names like that. And they would say, well, which one has the best sound? And I'd say, well, it depends, where you put it and what you're looking for in sound. I mean, my ear is different than your ear. I go, let's look at the spec sheets on some of these. And then we'd always go to the distortion. Did you ever highlight that to people? The distortion, like 0.0 whatever 3 or 0.123 or whatever. I can't remember.
Yeah, of course.
And Hitachi, of all brands, had the lowest distortion. And I said, well, let's compare it. So, of course, we had a little sounds room where all these amplifiers were in. And I played the more expensive ones. And then they say, okay, next. And I go to Hitachi, and they say, wow, I would never bother Hitachi. But now that you show me the specs and the sound is similar, I can't make the difference. But if that's true, that has the less distortion. So sometimes the name brand, unless you look at how it's actually performing, isn't exactly the one you should buy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so subjective in terms of listening as well, because, again, you reach a ceiling in terms of your hearing ability pretty quickly. And as I said earlier, the room ability, how well can the room actually reproduce those sounds directly, as opposed to just listening to a whole bunch of reflections off the room, which is normally what people actually listen to. But yeah, you're right, in terms of distortion, lower distortion is better. Normally the distortion figures that they give are slightly fudged anyway. At what point are they measuring the distortion? Because distortion's only really relevant when you've got high power levels going through something. So, any shitty amp can easily produce low distortion levels if it's not driving very hard, which is why you can get a really relatively low powered amp, drive it not to anywhere near the excess level, and get it to sound absolutely beautiful. But as soon as you start putting something a bit more dynamic through it or turning the volume up a bit, that's when you get into the distortion levels, and that's where more power is better because it's lower distortion at higher powers, etc., etc. It's all very tedious. Although there's probably some hi-fi enthusiasts right now in the audience going, "Oh, this is awesome!"
Finally. Well, I remember the biamp systems for the cars. You had the German brand Blaupunkt and others that were really hot at the time. And, people wanted that foreign stuff. But, Pioneer made some good stuff for the cars. But I remember the biamp. I think Alpine had the biamp one. I can't remember the brand for a while.
Biamping is just
Bang
really...
and Olufsen.
Go on, sorry. Hopefully it's non-related, so we can change the subject. I'll talk about this all day if someone doesn't stop me.
No, Neil went to more German amps. Go ahead.
Go on, Neil.
You just never heard of Bang & Olufsen?
Yeah, B&O. It's a subdivision of Philips. It's very, very cool looking stuff. I mean, it performs alright. Just trendy.
So what about Bose?
Bose don't even publish their distortion figures. That says it all. Their pro stuff is absolutely astonishing. Bose make some of the best pro audio you can get. Really, really good stuff. The domestic stuff,
Yeah,
not so much.
I have a Bose surround sound main system with 200 hard drive on it, and it is the best I've ever had.
So clean.
stuff.
Bose is so clean.
Clean? You're convincing yourself that Bose is great. Have you got Bose, Neil?
Yeah.
Is
But they're
it a-
clean, like
Is
it's
it
so
Acoustic
clean.
Mass? Is it little tiny little satellite speakers and a subwoofer?
Here we go. Come on, Neil, back it up.
No, I'm not going to argue with you about hi-fi. It's in many ways irrelevant because this is so subjective. Nothing we ever discuss in this show will ever be critical listening. In other words, a guy producing the music that's going to making money off it. We're just talking about our enjoyment of music. If you like listening to a Bose system, then the Bose system is the best. Because it's nothing more than your emotional connection to the music at the point that we're discussing it. Domestic listening. Who cares? It's not critical listening. It's a very different game of, if you're in a studio, being able to make a decision about what you're going to do is critical. That's critical listening. This isn't. So Bose, great, wonderful. If you like it. I like the fact that people buy hi-fis and listen to music. But, people get caught up in the gear.
Mm-hmm.
Me, because I used to sell it, it interests me because obviously you can quantify some of this stuff and some people don't, like Bose. So, it's a
I got a
lifestyle.
little speaker.
Same with B&O. B&O, Bose, both lifestyle systems, they call them. And that just means that it looks really pretty and it produces music. Great. If you like that, wonderful.
What
Neil,
about
what was-
those? Hey, you
what was
guys.
the
Good
last thing
morning.
you
What do you guys
said?
think of those sound tubes, like incandescent light bulbs? You
Yeah,
seen
tubes. Yeah, tubes. Tubes are still popular. You can buy tube amplifiers. Single-ended
Lots of
amplifiers,
guitar amps
basically.
are based on tubes.
High levels of, I think it's second-order distortion. It's just a type of distortion that your ears like. So although it's not a particularly correct or accurate sound, it's very pleasing to the ears. So I've got tubes in my bedroom system, little valves on the amplifier that I use, and it's lovely. It's really warm. It's nice to listen to. Perfect for a bedroom system.
Then we
Nathan,
get some
you use
from
you use a tube amplifier for your audio?
Well, yes and no. It's got a tube preamplifier stage in the integrated amplifier, just in case anybody's out there and goes, "That's not a tube amplifier."
Well, no, I play a lot of guitar and there's a lot of tube amps, and I was just curious. I didn't, because usually it's digital.
Yeah. Tube amps popular in guitar amps as well. Sound nice. Orange amps use tubes. Well, most of them.
Yeah, they're more of an analog sound, and I guess it's just the when you're heating up the tube, it's more, I guess, rich sounding because it's actual heating. And I don't know, but you can distinguish if you compare it to like digital overdrives and digital distortions. If you have an ear for it, I guess. Most people can't really tell the difference.
Yeah, I don't know. Most people, if you stick a tube product in front of them, would notice that there's a distinct difference in terms of the type of sound it reproduces. Same goes for amplifiers that are, powering instruments like guitar amps. I would say if blind test, I could definitely tell the difference between one that was tube and one that wasn't.
I
Yeah,
have a
it's like,
couple of consoles.
you said chasing the dragon, chasing that tone is kind of like, you really have to have an ear for it. But most people, they don't really care half the time, I guess.
I want to agree with you, but I just don't think it's true. I think if you can hear differences. So if you're deaf, then no. But ultimately speaking, if you can hear and there's a difference to be heard, people underestimate how good their hearing is. So I don't know. Even if you've got really damaged hearing, like terrible top end damage because you've been exposed to loud drilling all your life or something like that, so long as you can still hear, you can distinguish timing differences so long as you've got functions in both ears. So, not really. Even some of the old customers I have that were really, really old, that had lost a lot of their top-end hearing, they could still easily pick out differences between stuff that was better and wasn't better, because you just can. And, it's the golden ears thing is people like sound engineers who have actually trained their ears to pick out certain things. And again, they haven't necessarily, most of them are older, they haven't necessarily got the best hearing if you were to test it. But their ears are educated ears. They know what they're listening for, what they're listening out for, to make adjustments. A bit of overblown bass here and a bit of whatever. They're picking out specifics to make adjustments. That's where you need good, what you're calling good hearing, and it isn't. It's trained hearing. So like if you stick somebody outside and listen to the environment, and then stick them in a very small room, there isn't a soul that can hear that wouldn't tell the difference between those two things. And in an audio reproduction in a good environment, you can capture those things in the recording. So if you can reproduce them, you can hear them, if you can hear.
Right. But that's like a train. That's a practice. That's like a trade,
Only for the people doing critical listening, so only for engineers, and their only requirement for having critical listening is because they're making adjustments so that the end user, or the consumer, the customer in this instance, is the guy buying the music and just playing it back, so that he doesn't have to worry about what's where in the mix, the balance, and all that the customer needs to worry about, the person listening to the music, is, does it make me connect with this emotionally? And if it doesn't, then the sound engineer's done a terrible job. But that's where they need to be educated in terms of what they're listening out for and why they're listening out. Well, why? So they can make alterations to make an instrument sit better in the mix, and things like that.
I have a friend who's a DJ, and he worked in this studio. He was an engineer, so he's got that ear, and he would sit there. We'd be having lunch, and he'd be explaining to me, "Oh man, that sounds terrible." I go, "Sounds fine to me." And he said, "No, can't you hear that?" And I go, "No, I can't." So he had all this sophisticated equipment, all this real way, the way he wanted to play music at his DJ parties. So I saw him at a friend's 50th birthday party, and he had a Apple, laptop and some hard drives. And I said, "Man, you've sized down." He said, "Yeah, I found out that I'm the only one that could hear those things, and nobody else cares." So he put everything on a hard drive. He's got like thousands of songs. He goes, "This makes life so much simpler." He was the only one that could pick up on these things. Hello? Where'd everybody go?
I'm here.
Yeah, I lost Nathan.
So did I.
Check 1, 2.
Nathan?
Yeah, this is on
Well,
Nathan's side. I hear you guys off.
Well, I may have to rejoin if I'm going to do housekeeping.
I see him flashing, but I don't hear him.
Yeah, I see him flashing, but I don't hear him. Let me get out and get back in. If he comes back, tell him I'm rejoining. We got a few minutes. Okay, Neil?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's Nathan, because I can only hear 10th Man through Nathan's audio. Maybe just muted or something.
I could hear 10th Man clean. You can't hear him clean?
No, I
Nathan?
hear him, but I only hear him through the Discord, and that's through Nathan's output audio. So I think
I
Nathan's
just joined.
muted for-
Hang on, I just rejoined and I can't hear him.
Still no Nathan.
What's the problem?
Oh,
We weren't hearing
just
you.
now heard you.
We thought there was a
Oh,
problem.
that's just because I just nipped away for a second.
Oh, I
because
got
Seeing
out
you
and rejoined
flashing,
again.
we can hear you.
I thought, wait a minute, how am I going to do housekeeping if you can't hear me?
Just before the show starts, I just shut my line down and concentrate on other things. So I'm not actually listening to you for the last 3 minutes, maybe, before I start. So
That's funny. I was talking to you too. That's great.
no, I'm kidding. I'm more distracted than normal because there's there's severe audio issues yesterday, so I'm nervous about what's happening, and I've got everything lined up so that if there is a problem, I can immediately start to address it. Hopefully while we're live, so I don't have to restart the live show like I did yesterday. That's disastrous. As I explained at the beginning of the show, it will get less promotion if I restart a live show. So that's not what I want to do. That's why I'm not paying as much attention. That's all.
Just laughing hard because on my end, I just experienced severe audio issues. I was talking to you, you weren't there.
I was at the start.
Checking other systems.
Good morning, guys.
Hey,
Hey,
Chocolate.
Choco.
What's up, Choco?
Hey. Yo. What's up,
So,
everybody?
just so you're all aware, 10th man's going to do housekeeping, just so I can monitor the live stream when it first starts. So if you can just, be nice, interact with him. Don't just sit in silence.
Chocolates.
Come on, we gotta give him a hard time a little bit.
You can give him a hard time if you've got some proof of for the sake of argument. That would be great. A little debate about somebody proving one of the questions. Just giving him shit for no reason, though. Preferably avoid that.
Chocolate's bromine. Yeah. Bro of mine. Bromine. We tried that chocolate.
Oh my god, here we go.
Man, the after show was rocking. The after show was rocking yesterday, man.
No, man.
Well, how many people we got on Discord?
Almost full house. Almost full house.
Okay, good. We should have some interaction here then.
Hopefully.
Some cleanser back to talk some more shit on you guys, or
He's behaving today.
Well, they should all behave and just come with their questions.
no? I was just telling
Doesn't
some
have-
cleanser to.
You're kind of muffled or low.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Oh, I thought you were starting the show.
Nah, a couple of minutes. Couple of minutes.
Okay, I'm off on my clock here. It's 6 a.m. right
Ju-
now here.
Just having a moment of silence for the globe.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
We're about to have eight of them with the 8 housekeeping questions. So then we'll play taps at the end or something.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by Paul Hall, Chocolate Sane, 10th Man, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Greetings.
What's up, guys?
Good morning.
It's
good to be back.
It is. So, as we had a few technical issues yesterday, I'm going to go and monitor the live stream while 10th Man takes over with the housekeeping question. So, over to you, 10th Man.
All right, thank you, Nathan. All right, number one, any signs of a physical geometric sphere edge, horizon, formerly known as Earth curve?
Black Swan.
That's
Negative.
We don't see the geometric horizon.
That's right.
Don't need, according to Rumpus.
What's that? Did I
No.
get Neil?
I said, according to Rumpus, you don't need no geometric horizon.
We do. We don't. Yes, he changes every day. Number
No,
two.
that's about having it.
Okay.
They don't need a geometric horizon, but they do, but it's not visible. But they don't need it though for the Earth to be a globe.
All right, let's move on. Any evidence of Earth radius, the R value? Rn.
No, that's not.
No.
That went down the toilet with the Earth curve. They went down the toilet hand in hand. No radius, no curve. No curve, no ball. Rest in peace.
I think you'll find it.
So-
I think you'll find it swirled down the toilet with Coriolis effect. Actually,
I was just going to say that.
Boom, boom.
Just going to say that.
With Coriolis effect, not caused by Coriolis effect.
Wait a minute. I just saw something here. I'm doing Nathan's part. Nathan's doing my part, stealing my puns there. What's going on here?
See, but it gave you the perfect segue to go into axial rotation. Do we have any of that? Oh, wait, that went down the toilet too. But you could ask the question.
That's a good segue there. Any evidence of axial rotation, Earth-based variety? Yeah, go to the washroom.
Earth.
It's right there.
No, there's no motion going on.
All
Of
right.
the Earth.
Season.
Nah, we got like 4 or 5 different motions going on, and nobody can prove any of them. What's that about?
Does a sickness
only-
motion count in the sea?
Repeat.
Does the sickness motion in the sea count?
hold on. Yeah, talk us through it. Explain. We don't know yet. Maybe you tell us.
I was just wondering.
But that's the motion of the boat, not the Earth.
Oh,
Ah.
man.
Very good point. All right, moving
Well,
on.
I guess-
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nah.
No.
Scientific evidence of what?
Hey, gravity, the fallback to no matter how you lose your argument, they'll always say gravity, the next thing.
Shout out to the
That's
Plain
the
Truth.
funny thing.
So Travis hasn't been around for a while because he's running his own show now, and he's getting more and more popular as days go by. So check out the Plain Truth, Travis. He's doing his own thing right now, and that's why we don't see or hear any scientific evidence of what. That's Travis. But yeah, the Plain Truth is his channel, and he's good to shout him out. He's doing good stuff. So check him out.
Isn't he doing Red Hen Radio these days?
That's his name on Skype, right? I don't know what the whole Red Hen Radio is, but I know that he does videos on his The Plain Truth channel. So that's where you can find him with the Mona Lisa, currently with a little face mask on it.
All right. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of cosmology, astronomy, or astrophysics?
No,
Seat
not
of the
yet.
pants.
Seat of the pants. Can you explain that, Chocolate? Seat of the pants. Who said that?
A certain theoretical physicist named Michio Kaku, who says
So-
nobody in my field uses the scientific method. It's all seat of the pants, leaps of logic, guesswork. Yay.
Would that seat of the pants cover sitting in front of a computer monitor and doing science?
They
As
call it
long as you
hiding
check,
anyway.
as long as you put your iTunes on and check emails while doing science, then it counts.
I wonder how much his colleagues are actually happy about that he said that afterward. I wonder if they were like, dude, did you really have to go that far?
Well, if it's
Well,
Neil
doesn't it come in
deGrasse,
the name? They're called theoretical physicists. Theoretical. That wouldn't be a
Nah, that's
scientific theory, right?
nah. Well, exactly.
So-
That's a convolution between the colloquial use of the word theory. I've got a theory, i.e., an idea about something. Well, in scientific vernacular, a theory is based on proven scientific data, i.e., experimental data that's proven cause. That's where you get a scientific theory. So it's very useful to convolute the vernacular when you're talking about the colloquial use of this word theory and the actual scientific definition when they're claiming to be scientists. So you'd assume they're talking about the scientific definition, i.e., empirical cause and effect established, followed by a theory. No, that's not what they're talking about. They're talking colloquially about a little idea they've had that they've got a just so story for.
hey, Chocolate.
Well, one
I
thing
know-
about him that's great is that he clears that right up. Nobody in my field understands or uses scientific method. Well, thanks. We appreciate that. I like his honesty.
Nobody in our field uses the empirical method of science, is what it should say. Because anything beyond that is, as he puts it, guesswork. Well, yeah, there's guesswork in the scientific method. You guess what the cause is, and then you validate it empirically, or rule it out empirically. So it's a very useful method because it's empirical. But they don't have any of that. Hence, they convolute the terms to make it seem like they've got empirical data when they haven't.
Well, since he's
They
doing
claim
it
it's
from
the
the seat
highest
of the
science.
pants, since he's doing it from the seat of the pants and it's guesswork, that's probably the brand of jeans he's wearing.
Yeah, for them, empirical studies would be going out in the field with their telescope and then watching at the stars in the sky in the field. It's like their version of field work.
Well, speaking of something in the sky, any evidence to the distance of the sun?
Triangulation. You could presuppose it. Maybe.
How about it's over there?
Well, there's clouds now. I can see it.
Well, it's still there just because the
How
clouds are.
about, how about somewhere in the sky? Somewhere over Earth, above in the sky. How about
Does it
that?
That
have
would be
diamonds?
too specific.
I think so too. That's a bit too specific, Chocolate. Is it?
That's too specific. All right.
Yeah, I think so. At this stage, we literally know nothing about that thing in the sky. But let's all gang together and worship it and presume we're travelling around it, eh, fundies?
Yep.
All right. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Preposterous. Ludicrous. No.
Nope.
What was it? Drop something and it deviates to the side? Who was that?
Well, you know what? If there was some
Didn't
kind of
somebody say that?
liquid, if there was some kind of liquid core by the outer shell, was supposedly flying in space, then wouldn't it just naturally, just by it being liquid surrounded by a hard shell, somehow start resonating and then eventually just break apart because of the building up resonation within the vacuum and all that? And sorry.
Sounds like an advert
They
for a
want us
toffee
to
crisp.
believe-
Well,
They want us
that
to
would
believe we live in a giant Cadbury egg.
Yeah,
It's
sorry,
fantastic.
I took that way too serious. But
Well,
it is an
Nathan
issue,
said-
though, you know? It should be an issue.
Well, I'll save that
It's
pun for
liquid.
another day, since Arwen won't let me say it.
Yeah, shut up. Stop rumpusing me, 10th man.
He's
No
doing the
problem. I had
housekeeping.
a really good one. I'll just save it for another day. No
You
problem.
realise
No, you go ahead.
I didn't tell Arwin. It's because he does. I've asked him to do the housekeeping so I could monitor the live stream because there were so many sound issues. I just didn't tell you, Arwin. So he's actually running the show right now, just so you know.
All right. Well, stop rumpusing him then, Nathan.
I'm glad you said it with some conviction. Thank you, Arwen. All right. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon to give you the gas pressure.
Nope.
What if I use 2 containers?
Do
Does
tell.
that count?
I've thought about that actually, Chocolate. You know, in some ways, you know, when you have two things that cancel each other out. Well, maybe this is one of those circumstances where I can't even say it with a straight face. I'll stop. I'm just gonna start giggling.
Oh, so we got net force 0?
Yeah, the two. Yeah, see, I knew you were the right person to do this. Yeah, exactly. Net force 0 between the two containers. The two containers cancel each other out.
But I thought Zanuck yesterday disproved the dome through Gay-Lussac's law.
I think if you consider using a definition for something completely off topic to gas pressure and ignoring all definitions of what creates gas pressure and denying the antecedent, then yeah, you can claim that. But it doesn't really hold much weight.
I thought that was unorthodox.
Speaking of weight,
it was
they're still
unorthodox.
pushing. Speaking of weight, they're still pushing weight. That's what keeps the gas in the container. Late yesterday afternoon, Zanuck and Enigma were on there trying to. What's that? Oh, inside a fish tank. Remember the container fish tank?
Yeah.
Say, well,
Hang on.
I know, but go ahead.
No.
Your sound is low.
They can't use the fish tank because they're using that to fill propane. So they gotta get something else. I know. Well, that was my argument. Basically, was they said, "Well, stay in the fish tank." I was like, "Well, what about after an hour? Oh, it'll still be there. What after about 2 days? It'll still be there. What after about 10 years? Oh, it probably won't be there after 10 years because there'll be other factors probably not keeping it in there."
Other factors like entropy.
Yeah, I know. But I've been thinking about that because that's the argument with gas pressure, the atmospheric pressure, which you did that good job breaking that down yesterday too. But no matter what, the gas will not be contained over time because it does have to follow the increase in entropy. It wants to fill all available microstates. Even then, it will not stay there. Maybe a short amount of time, but of course, it's staying in the containers. They're proof of weight, which QE's broke that down pretty good too. What's weight?
Well, where else would you expect the natural law denier to go? He has to deny natural law.
And they claim we're science deniers.
Well, and I thought something else too. If the laws of Newton were not right, then that is a mass and acceleration and all that stuff kind of becomes a new point, doesn't it?
Mic check. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Babs. Good to have you.
What up, Babs?
Yeah, I have a question for Arwen. What's going on, Chocolate?
Hold on. Just ask 10th man.
Hey, Babs.
Okay, I could ask 10th man too. Doesn't
No, I
matter.
don't mean ask him the question. He's just in the middle of housekeeping.
That completes the housekeeping.
Oh,
questions.
right.
Go ahead,
No, that completes the housekeeping. I wasn't keeping track of it. I was doing other things. Go ahead, Babs. My bad. I really wish I hadn't said anything. Sorry.
Yeah, so Arwen talks about relative density disequilibrium as being the reason that things fall to the floor. So I was just wondering, if the sky is less dense than the ground, wouldn't things that are dense move to the less dense medium, if that makes sense? If things that are more dense than the sky are on the ground, wouldn't they want to move towards the less dense medium if it's all based on relative density?
No, how did they go there in the first place? No, then it's not just going to move back the direction. It's not going to change. Unless the medium.
Right, but the reason
it's
that
all
the
dependent
things
on the medium.
fall
So
to
if
the
the medium
floor
is
is
suddenly
because
going to
they're
be
more. The reason that things fall to the floor is because they're more dense than the medium. But why wouldn't they fall upwards since the sky is less dense?
You've answered your own question in your statement. And you've started with a premise that's faulty. So you said that Arwen's explanation for why things fall down is relative density disequilibrium. Well, no. Relative density disequilibrium could easily force things up.
Yeah.
Force a basketball underwater. That's relative density disequilibrium. Hold on. That's relative density disequilibrium. You force the ball out of equilibrium under the water. Well, that's going to go up when you release it, right? Because it's in disequilibrium to the opposing direction. Now that's going to go up. Same with a helium balloon in air. You let it go, it goes up. Well, that's because it's less dense than the air, so it goes up. The rock, more dense, goes down. Now, down is relative for the state that you are referring to. Direction is relative. So what's up for one thing might not be up for another, depending on its density. Now for us, we're in a specific medium. Us, up, is based on what happens in air.
Right. It all depends on the medium. So up means less dense than the medium. Down means denser than the medium. That's pretty much how it works.
Right. Yeah, that does make sense. I was under the impression that it was only like, because when we think about things falling to the ground, we normally just tend to think of like solids and liquids. So I was under the impression that it was how solids and liquids interact with the medium. And that's what Arwen was referring to. But what you're saying is that gases are also involved in this. So the less dense gases are going to be higher up, and the more dense things, which are generally like solids and liquids, are going to be on the ground. So it's all just
not necessarily. No,
according to density.
Not necessarily. It's just the density. So you've seen the example of sulfur hexafluoride being capable, although it's a man-made gas, it's still an example that defies what you've stated. So you can float a solid, albeit in a particular, a very efficient way of cupping the air beneath it in terms of what they put on top of it. But a foil boat can be suspended, a solid, on top of a gas because of its density. Well, in other words, the density rules. Now, obviously, there's certain densities that can't be mediums, but on the other hand, I'm probably going to be corrected on that as well. So if I say, well, we can't be in the medium of rock, that pretty much holds true. But we can be in the medium of water or sulfur hexafluoride without too much difficulty. Probably wouldn't survive very long. But the point is, you can actually occupy those mediums, and the density is really all that's dictating what's going to happen where. Same principle applies with, I think it's, I can't remember what the liquid is. It's molten lead or something like that, and you can literally
Mercury.
Mercury, that was it. You can float stuff on it. Solids. You can put an anvil, great big massive heavy weight, on top of mercury, and it'll just float there. Well, that's purely down to the density of the medium. In that case, it's mercury.
But think about this though. If I have a baseball in my hand, the baseball is more dense than the surrounding air, but it's also more dense than the air that's like, say, 50 miles up. So why does it choose to go down if it's less dense than the air that's above as well? Why is it prioritizing down if
More
it's all
dense.
just based on density?
It's not prioritizing down. It just is more dense than the medium it's in. So it's going to go in that direction relative to the density of the medium that it's in. Likewise, the reverse is true for something less dense. So why are you saying, well, why doesn't it go to the even more less dense medium? Well, because it's still more dense than all of it. So it's going down relative to its medium.
Yeah,
Right, it is more dense than all of it, but
up there,
why
since the
does it
ball
go
is
down?
more dense than the ball is more dense than all the air, right? So how would the ball get up 50 miles up? What would support it? There's nothing to support it, right? Because the ball is obviously more dense than
there's nothing to support
any
it.
air.
I understand what you're saying. There's nothing to support it, but why would it go down if it's all just based on density? Because the air above is less dense as well, so it could go up if it's all just based on density.
Now you're disregarding.
The density is
You're disregarding my
relative to each
original-
other. It's the density
You're missing out the one word.
So the ball is more dense.
Hold on, Chocolate. You're missing out
It's relative to the
you're missing
medium.
out the disequilibrium part. So once you've pushed something out of equilibrium, it will return from whence it came. Now the medium is specific in terms of the direction. So we're going to take a basketball, and if you force it out of equilibrium underwater, it's going to want to go up. Relative to us and how we describe up, That's what it's going to do if you force it underwater. Likewise, if you take it up in the air and drop it, it's going to go down. It's not going to go out of equilibrium more. You're forcing it out of equilibrium by taking it up in the air. And it always returns to equilibrium. So it depends on where its equilibrium point is. Now, this is aside from fall arrest, which you said, oh, well, there's nothing supporting it. Well, that's describing fall arrest. In other words, if you have something very dense and it's perched on a piece of plywood and it's more dense than it, and over a period of time it cracks the plywood and carries on a descent downwards to when it reaches another point of fall arrest, where there may not be a less dense medium below that particular point. So if it's reached the ground, and we are under the assumption that below that point there is only more dense material, that will be the end. That is its point of fall arrest. That is equilibrium for that particular item. Doesn't matter what it is. It's an anvil falling off a cliff in a Wile E. Coyote cartoon. But the point is that once it's reached that point of equilibrium, notwithstanding fall arrest, once you take it out of equilibrium, which requires energy, it's going to return from whence it came. Now, it might be energy pushing it underwater or taking it up in the air, but the equilibrium point is where it's going to return to once you've put energy in to take it out of equilibrium. Because this basketball's not getting up in the air on its own. You've got to put energy in to do that. Well, why don't things just fly up in the air? Well, because that requires energy.
Right, that does make sense. But the next question is then, why is equilibrium down for solids? Why is it down? And I mean, that question is probably impossible to answer. You could say
it's
that
wrong,
it's gravity. Gravity's still.
Hold on. It's because it's malformed. I've just explained that no, it isn't necessarily down. My basketball example was forced underwater when you took it out of equilibrium in the first instance. Well, that's not down when it's returning to equilibrium. It is very much medium specific. So it's not just down. This whole gravity bullshit is only because we only refer to our relative directions for us. Directions are not relative, are always going to be relative. And in this instance, you can change that if you change the medium.
Right, I get that part 100%. It's all medium based. That's why a basketball is always going to float at the top of a swimming pool, and a bowling ball is going to fall to the bottom because it's more dense than the medium.
Yes.
And
that's it. That's the end of the explanation. There's nothing more to explain. You can go into the causes, but then you're trying to derive the cause of a second order effect of entropy. Now, well, that to me is a futile task. It is what it is. That's why, although they've got gravity, so this has never been encompassed into any natural law, it's just described as gravity. But now we've 100 years surpassed the force of gravity, and we're into bendy conceptual mediums, it's kind of non-relevant. This downward trajectory, why is equilibrium in our medium equilibrium for us? Well, it's medium specific, that's been answered. But beyond that, you don't have any references to go to other than the logic of what we've just described. So what do you have if you go looking for references? Well, it's always referring to down, because it's always referring back to our relativistic directions that we have in our medium.
It is logical though, Nathan, because objects and liquids, which we can definitely see and touch, are typically, the things we see and touch, and they always seem to go down, while the air, which is on average pretty invisible, that's the thing generally going up, but we don't see it. So,
oh, what, the lighter stuff? Yeah, that's why.
And to the physical.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I can see, but it seems so primitive. I mean, this to the Globers, right? What I'm about to say is going to be so arrogant. They're going to be like, oh, well, but this notion of a constant down, not observing relative directions and mediums, to me seems Stone Age. Don't give me crap in the comments about there not being a Stone Age. It seems archaic. Now, that's funny because that's what we get criticised of, right? Old, out of date, outmoded concepts. Well, no, just paying attention to the natural nature of reality and decrying anything that's backed up with nonsense. Well, to me, this whole nonsense of a constant fixed down because of what we see from our medium is just archaic. Assigning gravity to a down, that's out of date by their own standards. 100 years, in excess of 100 years now. It's like 105 years out of date. So, get with the times, man.
Right. Thanks for clearing that up for me. Someone asked me that question early on, and I couldn't answer it. So,
hold on, Chocolate. Let's just round out again, Babs. Sorry.
No, I was just saying thanks for answering that question for me. Someone asked me that a few days ago, and I just couldn't answer it. So it makes sense that it's all medium dependent. Now it's starting to make a little bit more sense.
Sorry to do this to you, Chocolate. There's now going to be a caveat. So now that you've given me the context of why you've asked, I just thought you were just asking. So someone else has challenged you to. You don't need to. This is an interesting conversation, right? And it's nice to poo-poo the old rhetoric. It's 100 years out of date anyway. But nevertheless, there's no need for you to explain this. Are you somehow involved in a career that is dependent on this particular aspect of life in any way, shape or form? Or does it affect you personally in any way, shape or form? Or do you personally make any claims about this specific topic, Babs?
I do make claims about this specific topic. I do spend a lot of time with Globers, and I do like being able to defend my rhetoric. So that's why I ask what I ask, because it's all for debate. It's all for improving my debate skills, pretty much.
Possibly. What do you claim?
I claim that Earth is flat and gravity doesn't exist.
Well, that's rebutting a claim. So, if you have an extraordinary claim, definitely the onus of proof is on you. Now, by their own rhetoric, and you'll agree you've heard enough of it, they will accept that to our observation Earth is flat. Now, given that that is the standard default position, the extraordinary claim is that it's a globe. That's not a claim from you. Same goes for gravity. That's the claim that you're saying, well, I say gravity isn't real. Well, there's no automatic presupposition that we have to accept and suddenly refute. There's no scientific evidence for it. So you're refuting claims. And I will reiterate what I've said. Now, you don't have to accept this, but this is just a fact. By what you've just told me, you're not making any claim. You're refuting an outstanding claim that we have this bullshit force called gravity. Well, that's a refutation of the claim. Now, while we've just discussed what is actually in occurrence, relative density disequilibrium in this case, we don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. The same way I don't have to explain what the sky is, and neither do you. You don't have to justify what causes down to be down, as that's your specific question in this regard. You don't have to do that. You're not making a claim. So,
I am making claims when I'm saying the Earth is flat and gravity doesn't exist. Those are claims, and they need to be defended.
I don't see that stating that the Earth is flat is a claim. The Earth is obviously and observably flat, a point that is agreed upon by both sides. Now, further to that, they say you can prove that it's a globe by X, Y, Z. In other words, it's obviously and observably flat to everybody. That's the default position. Now, because there is a standardised religious rhetoric that 95% of the Western world are under, it may feel like stating the obvious and observable about the nature of reality needs to be defended as a claim. It isn't. Now, you don't have to accept this. I am right, though. Sorry.
It'd be like defending water being wet.
Exactly. Who said that?
That was me, Stagger Lee.
Perfect. Exactly. Certain things are the way they are. Further to them, we have an extraordinary claim that the Earth's a sphere. That's an extraordinary claim.
Well, regardless, people are still going to want evidence. They're still going to want to see evidence for the claims that you're making.
Babs, let me pipe in.
But Babs, you can't. Go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
Yeah, let me just pipe in here because you're missing what Nathan is saying. Let's say you and me, Babs, are on the seashore, like I tried to get Highlander yesterday. And we both look out at the horizon, and we both agree, observably, it looks flat. You with me on this?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, so what's there to debate? We both observably see a flat Earth. But then all of a sudden, you look at me and say, but there's a curve. And I say, okay, prove it. You made the claim. Now you got to prove it. But because visually you and I both saw a flat horizon, and there's nothing to debate there. We only debate because you make a claim that we live on the ball in this example. So now it's up to you to prove water curves, where is the geometric horizon, the physical. It's up to you now. Now, if you can't do that, then we're back on the seashore looking at a plane that looks flat. And
Right, I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm going to just do a couple of quick shout-outs. So 10th man. Shout out to Al Junkie. He says, Al Junkie is an honest 10th man fan. Hashtag fun intended. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Al Junkie. Really appreciate your support. And also, Paralaya Bodyworks. Sorry, I can't pronounce that. Why is down the direction that denser things go? It's more dense than what? The medium? That's medium specific. So, more dense than the medium, they'll go down relative to that medium. Less dense than that medium, they'll go up. But like my example with the basketball, that's only capable of being described by us with our relative directions being adhered to when we describe it. So relative to us in air, the ball's going up, but it's not in air. It's in water. So the whole direction, the relative directions will change, for us included, when we get into the same medium. So it's not necessarily the case that we have a definitive up and down, it's relative. So anyway, thank you very much indeed for your question and for the super chat. I hope that this particular show...
Right. I'm just going to respond.
Go on, Babs. Chocolate's been waiting a while as well, so Chocolate's been interrupted 3 times trying to get one point out. But go ahead, Babs.
Right. Just going to respond to 10th man real quick. So when you're standing at the shore and you're looking at the horizon and you're saying that it looks flat, they're going to ask you, why can't you see Tokyo, New York? And they're going to ask you, why does the sun go behind the horizon? And you're going to have to be able to answer these questions. It's not enough to just say that things look that way.
That's a different question.
Hold on. No. Sorry, again, I just got to get this absolutely crystal clear and pegged down for the audience's benefit. I'm grateful for this, Babs. I'm having a go at you. Sorry, do you make claims about what the sun is, how it behaves, or what the horizon, it's very specific now, is and how it behaves? Do you personally make claims about those things, or are you only responding to a charge that you've been levelled with a burden of proof reversal fallacy because they make claims about what the sun is and they make claims about what the horizon does? Are you actually sure that you're making a claim in this regard also?
I'm responding to burden of proof reversal fallacies as well as fires of false models like the map that have been used as flat Earth models. I'm having to
You're breaking up. We're getting about 70% of what you're saying. It's clear enough to understand. I understand. So you're agreeing. You're saying you appreciate that it's a burden of proof reversal fallacy, but they still charge you with it and demand an answer because you're a flat earther and suddenly the arbiter of these things that they make claims about. So burden of proof is all fine. Okay, at least you appreciate it.
Yeah, I do appreciate it. Sorry for the audio issues. And what I was saying is that I also have to defend 5 years of epistemology created by other flat earthers, like the AE map and the circling sun and moon. Those are all things that are constantly brought up.
Why do you do that? I don't defend
having
anybody.
to defend them,
Okay,
even though I don't believe in any of those things.
No, he's right. I'll reiterate that, and then we're going to go to chocolate after a shout-out. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's weird defending the fact that maybe it's controlled opposition that's permeated all of this stuff into the people who are just ground-level, grassroots people who've realised the nature of their reality, suddenly start punting global, azimuthal, equidistant, North Pole-centric projections. And we have to defend that somehow. Now, not here. We point out the burden of proof reversal fallacy, models of pseudoscience, all of those things that we have a damn good laugh at when they get challenged by our opponents. Yeah, models are pseudoscience. Anyway, right. So shout out to Rakia Life. He says, set my man chocolate free. Oh, and I would like QE to define vacation. Lol. Rakia Life. Also, shout out to Pralaya Bodyworks again. By the way, thank you for your videos, despite YouTube censorship. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, and really appreciate the super chat. Times are tough, so thank you for all the support. Right, Chocolate, are you there?
Yes, I am.
As
I
your
mean,
point,
at this point, you guys pretty much covered what I was gonna say. Like, I just wanted to tell Babs, like, going back to that example, you guys standing at the seashore, and, you know, you guys see the same thing, and then somebody makes a claim, and now you have to defend it. Why? When you guys see the same thing, why do you have to defend some story now? Because if he can confirm that, then you could, right? So why would you have to explain it to him when you both observe the same thing? It's like if I'm standing on a sidewalk somewhere, right, and somebody comes along, I don't feel any movement, never measured any movement, nothing. And then somebody comes along and says to me, "Hey, you know the ground's moving at 66,000 miles per hour around the sun." And then I'm like, okay, well, do you know that for a fact? No. Do you feel that? No. Did you measure that? No. But then it's a story now that I have to prove to you. That's ridiculous. That's a
Well,
claim.
you
Both
observe the same
observe a flat and
thing
stationary Earth.
because Earth looks the same. You observe the same thing because Earth looks flat locally based on planar surveying. So if you're a microbe on a basketball, it's going to look flat locally. It's only when you look at the
Hey, but
when you
Hold on,
look at it
hold on,
in
hold on,
entirety
Takeman.
that you're going to know.
Just let him make his point. He's making a point that presupposes a ball and begs the question and demands that we justify why it wouldn't do that if we hadn't begged the question. But I want him to actually say it. You know, if we were on a basketball as a fly, oh, so we're assuming that the Earth is a much bigger basketball, right?
Right. The audio issues are killing me right now. If you're a microbe on a basketball, it's going to look flat locally. And that's what planar surveying is. It surveys Earth locally, and it presumes that the Earth is flat. But when you do geodetic surveying,
Presume.
you can start to see Earth curvature.
No, you can't.
You
They
think
don't
you're-
measure it. Hold on. Let's just correct that. Have you watched, I'm going to say you haven't, either Bev Try Thinking or Brian's Logic's presentations recently on geodetic surveying? Babs?
Yes.
So are you aware of how a geodetic surveyor would beg the question of a sphere and then draw a zenith from his presupposed sphere and map out what they then call, based on their presupposition that they've drew a tangent based on, not a tangent, a zenith, based on their global position that they assumed, they will then draw out what they call a tangent, because of their presupposition, plane, because of their use of Euclidean geometry, which applies flat earth principles after their presupposition of a globe. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, I know they presuppose the globe.
But were you aware that?
Surveying.
But were you aware that once they
I know
presupposed it, they're applying Euclidean principles and levels are level, plums are running parallel?
According to them, level is perpendicular to.
I know that, but according to their surveyors, after they beg the question of a sphere and draw their zenith to a point that points, according to their fundy religious belief, to the presupposed centre of a presupposed ball Earth, after that moment, so that they can label what they're going to do in terms of work, they call that point the tangent point, because they've presupposed a sphere. But then they actually measure a plane. So the thing they're going to work on with Euclidean principles and levels level, plums plum, is going to be called a tangent, because of the presupposition, plane. So all of the principles that they tell us about, oh, well, plumb bobs point to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. No, they don't. Their own surveyors will not back that nonsense, because that's not what they do. They measure a flat plane after they've begged the question. They're not measuring or utilising tools that do anything other than abide by flat Earth and how it operates. Tangent, plane. We've debunked the tangent. The plane bit is their actual practical measurement of the surface they're standing on.
Yeah, that
So it's flat, by their own admission. Other than their fundy presupposition of the tangent, they're measuring it flat. And the tools are showing it's flat.
yeah, the tools are showing it's flat locally, and everything else.
So, back to the original assertion then. If everything's showing it's flat, the tools are flat, the surveyors are building with it flat, the assumption that it's flat, even if you've got a globe belief, you still transpose that into Euclidean geometry so you can measure and build flat. Everything's flat. So it's not an extraordinary claim to say it's flat. But to assert that it's a ball is definitely a positive claim and definitely extraordinary in nature, given that we don't observe that. So it's not you defending or asserting anything to say, as I will now do, the Earth is obviously and observably flat.
That stuff is flat.
Right, that's correct. If you do make a positive claim like the Earth is a globe, then the burden of proof is on you. And so far, we've seen that the evidence for it is weak. When you investigate it, it's
Yeah, it's been described by Mark Sargent as a room full of boxes that has got globe written on the door. You walk in and you're like, wow, this is a lot of stuff in here. And then you start going through the boxes and there's nothing but empty packing paper and nothing in each box. That was his description. Or Wakey Wakey, Mark described it as a papier-mâché ball that you look at and go, wow, that looks really solid. You know, it's all together. That model is really good. But then you go up to it and touch it, and your finger goes straight through, and you can see sunlight through the other side where someone else has poked through. And at the moment, you meet their eye as you're looking through this empty model, going, hello, how are you on the other side of this empty model? So it's like a papier-mâché ball that looks solid, but really isn't. It's actually falling apart at the seams. At the moment, it's on fire with a black swan.
yeah, it's a room full of boxes, and when you look inside each box makes sense. But when you start to put all of the boxes together as a whole, you start to realize that they don't work together as a whole. I pointed this out earlier on this year, and a couple of people picked up on it.
Here. My God.
When you think about every single oh god.
Okay, 10 man's just trying to get a word in for about 5-10 minutes.
You seem like you're coming on and getting it, then all of a sudden you revert back. You said each box seems to be what?
That's because you didn't let me finish.
You don't let me finish. Is that serious? You're saying I don't let you finish?
Hold on, he's making a reasonable example. He's saying like gravity. You go into the box go into the room that's got globe written on it. You go to a box that's got gravity in it. You open the box and inside it says gravity is a force that's holding all the gas here. But it doesn't actually say that inside that box. It says it's a conceptual medium known as bending space-time and things like that.
It's actually
That's
a jack in the box that pops
Hold on,
out and
that's
says
not
gravity's not a force, but you can think of it like a force.
Hold on, he's saying that's not his example. Go ahead, Babs.
Yeah, that's not what I said. You misunderstood what I said. I don't blame you. It's probably the audio issues right now. But what I was saying is that you have a whole bunch of boxes. When you look inside each box, the boxes make sense. But when you start putting them together as a whole, they don't make any sense. And I pointed this out earlier on this year. Like when you think about all of the globe Earth predictions, and when you start putting them together on like one model, they just don't work. But when you look at them individually,
Well, can I get in here?
sunrise and sunset and moon phases, if you observe them individually, they make sense. But when you put them together, they don't.
Okie dokie. Go ahead, 10th man. Thank you, Babs.
Yeah, I heard that. That's why I commented, because it's just ridiculous what he's saying. Each box makes sense.
How is it ridiculous?
He just said it's a box that's empty with a label written on it saying, say, radius of Earth or gravity. When you open the box, there's nothing in there to prove the title that's on the outside. You said each box makes sense. How do you get away from that?
Oh, the boxes aren't empty. The
Well,
boxes are not empty.
that's what makes sense, right? Because I get what he's saying. I mean, look, we all grew up with this globe nonsense, right? So
I'm
you look at
getting
the
somewhere.
outside of the box, the box says gravity, right? Everybody thinks that there's some substance behind that, right? Until you open it and you realize it's not a force, but you can think of it like a force. You know,
Okay.
it's that type of
My
thing. It's empty.
point. If I get to finish it with Babs, and I'm glad you said that, Chocolate. No, I'm glad what you said because that proves my point. Each box cannot make sense when you open it because all you got is a box labeled gravity. When you open it, you're looking for gravity to make sense, but all their arguments doesn't make sense, i.e. the last 20 minutes of Nathan talking about what happens if you put a basketball in the ocean, it's going to go up, and all these different things with helium balloons and et cetera, et cetera. And then just the word gravity itself. What is that? It means weight.
No.
And then there.
Who said that? Nobody said that. Who said the boxes are empty? The boxes are not empty. Nobody said that. The boxes have a ton of information inside them. The boxes are not empty.
I was talking.
This analogy is going nowhere.
Okay, we're a bit too hung up on this analogy. Okay, I said packing paper in the analogy I gave when I'm transposing Mark Sargent's description. He's describing pulling out bits of packing paper. Well, those bits of packing paper to you are like the information in the analogy. So yeah, they're not empty boxes. There's stuff in them. It's just garbage. There should be a product in there, and that product should be gravity. And what you've got is packaging for the gravity, saying it's not a force. You know, you're like, hold on, I thought there was a force of gravity in this box, and there's not. There's just packaging paper.
Right, but let me finish to the end of my statement. So a box is marked gravity. I open it up, it's package paper, little foam balls, whatever. And this is their version of explaining what the title on the box means. And because I am who I am, I've always dug deep. Well, what do you mean by that? Explain that to me. So the minute you pose a question, like prove it, they fall apart. So it's no different than the title outside the box is phony, so is the package paper. So my whole point to Babs is when he said that if you look at any individual box, it makes sense. No, it doesn't. Because if you don't ask a question, then you're sheep, and how can it make sense? You just accepted the rhetoric. But if you ask a question, that individual box will make sense, is my point.
Right. It makes sense to the average Joe that isn't questioning any of this. It's only when you start looking that it doesn't make sense.
Aha, that's it. Now you put it in the right context where I could not disturb you. If you don't ask questions, you're going to get sold a lemon of a car. Hey, you got it.
Okay, so we're all in agreement.
Exactly.
Mark Sargent's analogy, A-OK.
Yeah, I just felt like we were boxed in.
No, I agree with you 100%.
It's just an analogy. It doesn't matter that much.
That was great. Babs, that was good. I'm glad you put it in context. If you don't ask questions, you're a Shapil. It all makes sense. But if the minute you ask questions, you see that it's not a real answer to anything, just paper stuffing. That's what I was looking for right there.
Exactly.
Alrighty then.
Any Globers in Discord?
Xanax in there.
Oh gosh, this guy with his reverse entropy, natural law denier. Get over here and let's see some more nonsense from you.
Or maybe not. I'm just delighted that the sound actually come through clearly today.
Did you make any adjustments as we were going through housekeeping?
No, there was no need. I because it was only the weekend that I'd gone through all of the changes to add RTX voice. Obviously, going back through that process and undoing it all wasn't exactly a massive challenge because I knew what I'd changed and how to change it back. So, although that said, you can easily make mistakes. So, I'm delighted that we're back to having decent audio on the show. Tonight's show, when you're watching live, that goes out on the second channel, Nathan Oakley has got horrific audio. I am apologetic in advance. My attempt to clean up the audio for other participants has failed, but you know, it's back to being good enough.
Sounds great on Discord.
Yeah, I had it pegged, you know, before I added that particular fun bit of garbage that didn't work. I'm sure it's wonderful. Anyway, I had it all pegged, I had it all sorted.
Yeah,
Discord sounds good.
I do apologize for the poor audio. I recently moved into a new house and I'm just getting everything set up. I had some presentations to do, but I just can't.
That's fair enough. It's fine if it's just one guest. People can tolerate that when the entire show's awful. It's a bit less. People are a bit less forgiving. Anyway, it's not the case today, which is all that matters.
Why is it? I remember when was it Unorthodox or no? I think it was Kosho. Kosho came on and gave us that so-called citation from Thought.co. Chocolate, you remember that?
Yeah, Chocolate puts it up with lots of squiggles and underlines and circles around words and stuff. It's really funny.
That one had to do with Coriolis.
Yep.
Right? That was the Coriolis one?
Yes, sir.
And what did it say about Coriolis, even though Kosho, a baller, used it to prove Earth-based Coriolis? What did it say?
It's an illusion.
Okay, so that was his citation,
much.
right? He's the one who gave it to us, right?
Yeah. He gave it. He
Okay.
provided it to us.
And then I guess my point is the ballers do this all the time. Rumpus does his Xanax just recently with his reversible changes to entropy. He doesn't finish reading things and he doesn't give us, I mean, talk about cherry picking. So when he was doing that, it's the first time I ever heard of entropy being reversed. So I started looking. And then I brought up from Chem Libertex, it says, it should go without saying, of course, that any process that proceeds in infinitesimal steps would take infinitely long to occur. So thermodynamic reversibility is an idealization that is never achieved in real processes. Now, it's interesting that he likes the title of something that can't be done. So he talks about it. And the longer we go into it, we find out it's no more than the Kosho quote where it reverses. The only thing that reversed was his argument. This is all they
but he
got.
brought it up again yesterday.
Yeah, this is all they got.
My favorite part is that he's been arguing with this nonsense with us for a year now, and all of a sudden he just figured out the second law of thermodynamics is not entropy and it's not a law. So I don't know what crack these guys are smoking, but like this is ridiculous.
Anything
Especially
to save
Xanax.
their ball. Anything to save their ball.
It's never been a law, ever.
Ha! Here he goes. There you go.
I knew that would get him out.
It's not entropy that's reversible. It's the processes. See, you guys can't even get it straight what people say. It's not the entropy that reverses, Tech Man. It's process. An irreversible process, an irreversible process, or a reversible process. These are real things. They mean.
There's just two contradicting things said in quick succession. It is reversible and it isn't reversible. You just literally opened up with a string of doublespeak.
See, spontaneous reactions are are irreversible.
So your nonsense that you came up with yesterday, where you were telling us about how it's a reversible process, that was all just nonsense then, and to be ignored.
If you understand it, this is what it means.
Sorry, I understand that you've just told me that it doesn't happen.
It does happen.
So it doesn't happen.
Oh, it does. Actually, it does. It's part of thermodynamics.
Make up your mind.
I am being very clear.
Well, let me ask him a question. Let me ask you a question.
You know when the professor opened that valve, he was speaking about it happening spontaneously, right? He even said the word spontaneously.
Right. Now, was that gas?
Do you remember
ideal?
that?
Was that
Hold
Yes,
on,
I did.
Zanik. Go ahead, Paul. Ask your
What-
question.
Zanik, let me ask you a question, Zanik. Is there any non-made reversible processes, like something that is not made by man in any way, that is a reversible process?
No, by man they actually happen.
So it's only by man's intervention that you can have a reversible process with entropy, right?
There are some processes in nature that can be considered reversible.
Name one.
See, when you say things like that, and then when you're asked to name one, and then you don't, just sounds like you're making shit up,
Think
Zanik.
one that's actually made by that's not made by man. That is there's theoretical, just like reversible process and irreversible processes.
Sorry, we're talking about natural law, laws that occur in nature, not your colloquial theory. No.
Well,
we're talking about natural.
Show me.
I still haven't finished talking. We're talking about natural law, not what you make. Why are you demanding stuff through me? While I point out for the third time, whilst being interrupted, that we are talking about laws of nature.
Is entropy a law?
Of nature.
No, it's not.
Sorry, yes, it is. It's a law of nature. Your denial of all the citations from NASA and Ken Liebertext and the entropy site .edu and all of the other citations that make it absolutely plain, all of the MIT lectures that I've watched that make it absolutely plain that this is a law of nature, applicable always. Yeah, your denial of that hasn't padded out at all. You've told us that it's a reversible process, and then 10th man's gone and double-checked your actual citation, and it says that it's just an idea.
He didn't read it.
He did read it. So what, you're just going to tell us by divining what his actual actions are, what he has and hasn't done? No, he did read it. 10th man read it and then read out what you left out when you cherry-picked from it, and just left out the bit where it describes it as not actually applying in nature when we're discussing natural law. You ignored that. You cherry-picked that.
Let me put a correction here. Hang on, Zanik. I found that myself. I didn't get anything from him that I recall. I could be mistaken. It was a few shows back. And I found this about the reversible process. Now, see how he avoided the question of Paul. Paul said, is there any non-man-made reversible process in nature that exists? What did you say to that?
Nothing so far.
What did you say to that, Zanik? And then you said there was some.
Gas expanding in nature.
Why are you so muffled?
Is this better?
Much better.
Okay,
So
sorry
why
about
did
that.
you, when asked to show that there are, because you said there aren't, then you said there are some in nature, then asked what are they, name one. You didn't name one. Please name one before anything else comes out of your mouth. Name one.
Yes. Well, movement of air is a reversible process. Air going up and down in the atmosphere is a reversible process.
What are you talking about?
Atmo, not atmosphere.
Atmosphere. Does air have?
Wait a minute. Movement of air is natural. What are you saying?
Right, it's natural. Well, if air goes up and then comes down, if you have high pressure changing to low pressure
Oh my God.
on a daily,
He's saying it's
is
reversible because air could move
Oh.
up and down. Wow.
Oh my gosh. Zanik, have you heard of temperature and heat and all that and high pressure, low pressure? It changes all the time. You're saying that's a reversible process akin to what you are arguing about? Or is that the natural law of air?
I'm going to do a quick shout out to Julio Padbon. He says, weird thing happened to me yesterday. Unorthodox pulled up next to me at a red light, bumping his favourite song from Daft Punk, Around the World. Rumpus was sleeping in the passenger side. Weirdos. And with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this live on the Nathan Oakley 1980 stream, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to Julia Pabon and all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Even man-made stuff breaks down, energy's lost, you know, the whole nine.
Yeah,
Read
that's
the
why they
website.
have a auto parts store so you could buy replacement parts.
Who has another part store?
Zanuck, you've lost so many brain cells. I used to at times think you knew what you were talking about, but since the Black Swan, you've swirled down the drain. You have no arguments anymore. Nothing.
With no Coriolis.
With
No
Coriolis, right
Coriolis,
down the
nothing.
drain.
You're empty. Everything you say is empty now because all we got to do is just do a little search and we find out you cherry pick and then you
We'll do a search right now. Do a search for the entropy law. Let's
His
have a chuckle over
arguments
that.
have reached maximum entropy.
Zanuck, let's just take
That's
one
actually pretty
topic
good. Good for you, John.
at a time.
Entropy
Let's
is
take
not a
one
law.
topic.
Entropy is not a law, and there are
Zanuck,
reversible and irreversible
Zanuck.
processes.
No, there aren't. That's just an outright lie. So that's just made up. You've lied about it. You've had citations given to you by 10th Man that describe the contrary, but you're going to hold to it and just reassert it anyway. You've disagreed with every single citation, even when they're from NASA, that describe entropy as a law. You've got no
Nathan,
cards.
Show me.
So why are you demanding that I show you stuff while I'm in the middle of describing how wrong you are? Of course, that means you're going to start demanding that I start showing you stuff. We've shown you citations. You've ignored them. You've said they're wrong. So what, more demands for stuff that you can just say is wrong?
Nathan, there is no NASA citation.
Sorry, can you stop interrupting me, telling me that the NASA citation we've put on screen for an audience who saw it and had the actual website address published to them doesn't exist now? It's absolutely outrageous. The fact that you think it's necessary to start asking me for things when you're just a denier. Doesn't matter what we show you. Entropy is a law. The second law of thermodynamics is real. There's plenty of references for it. I've sat through hours of lectures from MIT professors about this law, and you're going to just sit there and tell me it's not real and start demanding things of me and talking through me.
You're making it up. You're lying.
I'm not making it up. We've got references, so you're just denying. So you're just a denier. I'm not making it up. You denied all references that were presented to you. Just a denier. It's pathetic.
You're lying. And
I'm not lying. You've seen the citations.
Are you serious right now, Zanuck?
Sorry, not liar. Denier. You, not me.
It's not.
Zanuck, what have you been arguing with us for the
Show me
better part of a year now? What have you been arguing
Oh, it's
with
just
us
gonna. He
about?
waited
Why
for you to
didn't
start talking, Chocolate, and then he started talking through you. A little bit of a silence, an opportunity for him to address the fact he's denied all citations that have been presented to him. Doesn't matter. I had to pull apart how much he didn't think NASA was right last time he was on, and now the outrageous prick is calling me a liar and claiming these citations that we argued about at length and how wrong he said NASA were, he now says that doesn't exist.
There is no citations of any.
You're a liar.
Wow, Zanuck.
You are a liar. I'm going to kick him out. I don't want Zanuck back here. I don't know about you guys, but he's an outright liar. We spent 20 minutes arguing about the NASA citation and how he said that NASA citation, because it described entropy as a law, the second law of thermodynamics, he said it was wrong. And it didn't matter that it came from NASA, that everyone makes mistakes. That's what he said.
Yeah, he did.
I remember.
We got witnesses plus
Now,
a recorded show.
And now he's saying I'm a liar and these citations don't exist. The guy's outrageous. Why would we want to talk to people like this? Anybody who's on the Globe side of this argument, this is your creme de la creme. This is your standard. Outright liars. Because that's what you've got. If your religion was real, you wouldn't need Zanuck to come here, deny a law of nature, something that really does occur always, and then when he's denied the citations of this law that have come from multiple places, one of which was NASA, that we argued about at length, to only come back a day later and claim that I've made it up and I'm a liar, why would we ever want to talk to this person ever again?
Kick him out.
Yes,
Nathan,
like I
I've
said,
got.
I can't have any respect for you because you're blatantly lying now, bro. Like, are you serious? Like, we've been arguing about this how long, and all of a sudden this shit's not a law? Like, are you kidding? Who are you trying to fool with this nonsense, bro?
He's lying and he's calling Nathan a liar. It's called projection.
Precisely. Yeah, he's projecting his maldeed onto me. He's lying about this discussion we had about this source that he denied. So, no, there is no such source. Prove it to me. Show it me now while I'm describing it. That's what he's done. Talked through me and demanded that I show something that he's already denied. It's a bloody outrage. These people wouldn't need to do. They wouldn't need to do this. If it was the case that the Earth was a sphere, this wouldn't be necessary. None of these lies and projections would be needed.
Nathan, I posted 2 of QE's citations in Master B. I'm still looking for the NASA one, but those 2 should suffice.
I mean, I thank you, but these have been on screen dozens and dozens and dozens of times with links to them. I mean, I'm not even going to bother putting it up to justify it. We don't need to. We're not liars. But they are. And when they're lying, to call me a liar about something that we've discussed at length and he now claims doesn't exist. I mean, this is an outrage. I don't see why there is any benefit at all to talking to Zanuck anymore. Because basically he'll deny something that's been discussed and then claim I'm lying about the fact it's even been discussed.
I agree. He's worthless right now.
He's a dude that makes bets, loses bets, and doesn't pay up on his bets, man. This is the type of guy we're talking about.
It's terrible.
The type of guy who gets your legs broke. That's you, Zedek.
I mean, that for me is burning a bridge. Lying about a discussion we've had where he's denied a citation and then claim it's not real and call me a liar is a step too far, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if you guys agree with my standards here, but that to me says there is never going to be any worth to discussing something with somebody who is a proven liar now. A bit like Brenda.
Just going to say,
I'm in total agreement.
Yep.
There might be
Total
something
agreement.
to talk to Betty about banning from the server if he's going to do that.
Yeah, all he does is come here, does what he does like today, and then he goes for hours and hours on Discord and lies some more. Why is he allowed a podium if he's lying?
Hey, Quantum Eraser, good to have you.
Morning.
We're weighing up the benefits of having... Zanuck's just come in and denied that there's ever been a NASA citation presented in regards to entropy being a law. And he called me a liar because I described the discussion where he was denying a citation from NASA about the entropy. So, based on that, I'm saying if it's going to boil down to us being told we're liars just for discussing something that he has denied and has been cited to him, what benefit is there to discussing anything with somebody like that? You know, a really overt liar.
Nothing.
None.
Zero.
I was making a suggestion maybe we should talk to Betty about banning from the
I was
server.
just about... You took the words out of my mouth. I was just about to say, I'm going to have a word with Betty. I mean, it's her server, so I'm not in any position. I don't even know how to ban him. But I'm going to have a word with Betty and say, look, this is the situation. This is toxic to my audience. This particular individual is more than happy to come have an argument for 10 straight minutes about how wrong a citation is, only to come back the following day and tell us that that's a lie. There is no such citation. And we're liars for saying there is.
And you made it up. His words. You made it up.
Yeah, he's
But what the
delusional.
hell, Zanuck?
Yeah, he's
Zanuck, how are we
delusional.
supposed to
I
respect you?
marked him. I marked him 18 months ago. I hear you. I got you.
Yeah, I know. I asked you because I knew that you'd been saying this for a significant period of time, and your disdain was what mine is now, 18 months later. But you also said, which is why he was here, I'm going to say that in past tense, he was here because we're exposing what they do. But it's now reached the point where none of the discussion is useful if it's not just them saying what their rhetoric is and exposing it for being wrong. If we're going to do that and then they're going to deny that we've done that and call us liars for it, it's like, that's a step too far now.
I agree.
I agree with that because for the past, I don't know how long he's been coming here, but we've been arguing about this law, right? All of a sudden now we're arguing whether it's a law or not. So has his side of the argument not actually literally regressed? I mean, what the hell, man?
Well, I think that comes down to an if or situation. If it's a law, then their religion is debunked. Therefore, maybe it's not a law. No, it's just
exactly.
That's the situation they're left with. So, well, we can't have that law because that law debunks our religion. The sky wouldn't be a vacuum if that was, being held true. So we've got to deny that law.
Exactly.
It just reminds me of the geometric horizon that boats used to disappear over, that they used to call Earth curve. That now we don't call it that anymore. Now we don't see it. It's the same thing. Like now that we've been arguing about this law and they have nothing to say about it. Now all of a sudden it's, oh, that's not a law. You guys claim second law of thermodynamics. Well, that's not a law, so therefore it's a globe. Like, get the hell out of here, man.
we could talk about it today before the live show. Hello?
Yeah, I hear you, John.
We got yeah. Is Nathan still there?
I was just fiddling with what my screen looked like. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we got the Black Swan today live on QE.
No point plugging. This goes out tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So if you're watching this on Nathan Oakley channel, this went out yesterday on Quantum Racer channel.
It's an interesting contrast we have here. When I posted the Association of American Geographers in writing saying we must embrace fiction in our science and in our nonfiction, and that geography normally positions itself in only in nonfiction, but we've got to embrace that fiction. They're telling you they're making things up, and it's in print. Now we got Zanuck on this side, just a day or so ago, seeing the citation from NASA and everything else, saying, obviously, that entropy is a law. And he comes, and instead of agreeing with it and finding another clever way to defend his dying ball, he lies. At least the Association of American Geographers didn't lie. They say it's all fiction.
Anyway, rest in peace, Zanuck.
It seems like we're in unanimous agreement that there's no more benefit. Exposing Zanuck as a lying globetard has definitely been achieved. It's not just this. This is just the straw that broke the camel's back.
That camel was dead
Agreed.
a long time ago.
Yep.
Okay. Can you do me a
I
favour,
agree.
please, Quantum Eraser? Any chance you can jump in Discord and just kick everyone to after show?
Oh, there's no. Yeah, I could do that. Give me a minute.
Thank you very much. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. There'll be a short intermission while everyone gets moved from one room to the other.
That's funny.
Come on, Kiwi, get me off this liar's channel.
Well, isn't this a nice lot of dead air that we're...
Yeah, it's not letting me friggin' do it.
Don't worry about it.
Hold on.
Leave them all in live stream. Not the end of the world. Betty was listening and she's taken away all privileges.
Dude, buddy.
Just for the audience's benefit, so Betty is the owner of this server that I use daily.
Endpoint.
Big shout out to her.
That's it. It's geometry we're talking about.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. But there is
I
still
got
the atmosphere. And under special conditions, you have refraction. And that refraction causes the light to bend over the horizon. So you can watch behind the horizon line, behind the geometrical horizon. And what you see then is the actual visual horizon. And that can indeed be further away than the geometrical horizon.
Oh, so we've got two horizons then.
Yes, of course. You have the visual horizon, what you actually see, and you have a geometrical horizon that does not get into account any refraction or any atmospheric influence.
Oh, so we only have one horizon, my friend.
Can you see the geometric horizon, my friend?
Can you what?
Can you see the geometric horizon?
You can see it if the air is good mixed up and no refraction takes into place. The visual horizon is very close to the geometric horizon, but you cannot really see it. It's always
so
a slight
therefore would not be a horizon, right? Which is defined as the apparent position where the sky meets the ground, meaning you would have to see it.
The apparent thing is there, but you can't see it.
I give you another example. If you look into a pool, down into the water, because you're looking, you have less dense air and high dense water.
Hello. So he's responding. Yep. He doesn't want you to move on. He's hoping that you'll acknowledge what he said. If it's not a visible location where the sky meets the land or sea, then it's not a horizon. That was his rebuttal. You said, I'll give you another example, rather than acknowledging what he said.
Okay, I didn't get completely what you just said.
A horizon is the demarcation point between either the sky and the land or the sky and the sea. That's what a horizon is. Well,
are we talking
I hadn't
about
finished.
I
hadn't finished. You said you didn't. Hello. I hadn't finished. You said you didn't understand. Now I'm speaking slower and giving you clarity. That doesn't mean you need to talk while I'm talking. Thank you. So a horizon is a visible, meaning you can see it, location where either the land or the sea meet the sky visibly. That's what a horizon is. Yeah, still haven't finished, mate. Same point you interrupted me last time. So if there's a second horizon, according to you in quotes, that we don't see, then that's not a horizon. That was Chocolate's point that you whistled past.
And just to add on to that, in your model, the geometric horizon is the visible horizon. So you saying you can't see the geometric horizon, you're debunking your model, my friend.
No, it doesn't.
Sorry, you're saying the model doesn't suggest that we have a geometric visible horizon. Your model doesn't. Is that what you're saying no to?
We have a geometric horizon that can be calculated on ideal sphere if you do not take the atmosphere and refraction into account. That's the geometrical horizon. But as light is always bended or refracted.
Sorry,
now you're interrupting me. Sorry,
yeah, that's because you said calculated. Sorry, you said calculated. We're talking about looking at things. So no. I interrupted you because we're not talking about calculating something based on your presupposition that you're standing on a sphere. No. A horizon, something visible. You've still whistled past this visible, we must see it to be a horizon point that we've made. We don't know about what you calculate while you presuppose a ball. We're saying horizons are visible locations. If we can't see it, it's not a horizon. Now, it definitely exists and is claimed to be visible in your model. It just isn't.
It is. The visual horizon is visible in the globe Earth model, of course.
In the globe Earth model, but just not in reality. As I said, second time. Not interested in what you calculate based on your presupposition that you're standing on a sphere in a model, because we're not standing on a model. Who cares? In reality, though, horizons are visible locations. Now, your model implies that the horizon is a visible sphere edge capable of blocking things. But you're describing it as a non-visible location that's only visible if you suck out atmosphere, which would make it non-visible, not in existence, not going to be blocking boats and buildings. And we've only got one, not two.
We have one visible horizon.
Yeah, and it's not geometric, like the one in your model that you're calculating.
Yes.
Yes, so we don't have a geometric horizon. We don't have this second horizon that you fantasized about and have reified by way of mathematics. That doesn't exist. It's not real.
We cannot observe it with the bare.
Right, so it's not real. Your geometric horizon, the second horizon that we've argued about for 10 minutes, that's not real.
Okay, then can you please...
No, not okay. Half the fucking world think they live on a sphere because you dicks assert that it is real, you stupid idiot. Not okay. Definitely not okay.
What about...
What about asking me a question? What about you acknowledging that you've just spent 10 minutes describing something that's not real? I will laugh about it like a fundy prick. No, mate. 95% of the Western world are under this misapprehension that the horizon's a physical location capable of blocking boats and buildings. And when I point out that we don't have two horizons, a geometric, non-visible, only existence in maths for a model, and a real horizon that isn't that, you chuckle and tell me, okay, moving on. It's not okay, mate. It's a lie. It's not real. You're talking about it like it's real.
I don't say we are going on. I ask you why the visible horizon that we actually observe, you confirm that this exists, why that moves, why sometimes objects at a specific distance are seen completely.
Who cares? I'm not making a claim about the horizon. I'm debunking that it's a globe edge, because that's your claim. How dare you reverse the burden of proof? I'm not making claims about what the horizon is. What I know it isn't is a geometric sphere edge as depicted in your geometric model, as you asserted and you claimed. Demanding that I now justify what this point in the distance is outrageous. I'm not making a claim about it. You are, idiot.
Oh, you are. No, you're making...
I did not talk about the geometric horizon.
You don't have a geometric horizon. That's your claim. Now you're asking me to justify what the horizon is, like I've made a claim about it. I haven't.
Shut up, boss.
So your horizon, depicted in your model that's used to claim we live on a sphere, is not real, mate.
And you still didn't answer my question.
I'm not asking or answering anything. You've made a claim which I'm refuting. I'm rebutting you, pointing out that the horizon you described at the beginning of this conversation with the other dude, the second horizon, that's in your model, claimed to be real and physical, and the basis of your model is not real.
And when will you explain me why wind turbines or oil rigs...
Sorry, why am I now being challenged to justify some nonsense? You've made a claim about a horizon that's geometric. Apparently, we can see it under certain circumstances. We've pointed out that we can't. No, it's not in reality ever visible ever, but is calculated by your own admission based on your fundamentalist zealot belief that we're on a sphere. We're not going to move on to you asking me questions. I didn't make any claims. You, on the other hand, did make a claim. You claimed that we'd got a geometric horizon. We don't. That's not real. You're yet to address that.
When you're done, Nathan, I'd like to say something.
When he's done, accepting that.
No, I'm not done. I'm touching a picture.
Sorry, you don't have a geometric horizon for your globe Earth belief. It's fundamental to your model, bro.
So, and why are these ships not visible completely?
Sorry, I haven't made a claim about what's going to happen to ships based on a fundamentalist zealot presupposition that the horizon's a physical geometric sphere edge, as you did. I'm not going to have the burden of proof reversal fallacy utilised simply because I've smashed your fundamentalist religious zealot belief that we're on a sphere by pointing out that we only have one horizon. And it's not the geometric horizon in your globe Earth model based on an R value, as you asserted when you claimed we live on a sphere by way of this reification of a mathematical extraction from your fundamentalist presupposition that we're on a sphere. Now that is your claim that I have annihilated. I'm not going to defend anything I haven't made any claims about, as you're now challenging me to. That's not a rebuttal.
Okay, so
you have made a claim about it, Nathan, because you said it was because of the diffraction limit.
Sorry, did I say that? When did I say that?
Yeah, you
No,
did.
he hasn't said
Yeah,
that.
that's what.
Not in this talk right
Sorry,
now.
did I say that to this guy?
Not to me.
Right,
You
I
said
don't know what
that
this guy's on
hundreds
about
of-
then. Sorry, mate, I haven't made a claim here. You have.
Okay. So
Globe Earth
you-
horizon
you-
geometric? You made that claim, not me.
Yeah, okay. So you said in your live stream that you observe the Earth is flat, so it's flat, right?
No, we all agree on
But
this. No. I didn't just say
Okay.
that. That's something that's agreed upon by both sides. Let me give you a couple of quotes. That stuff is flat. You cannot see the curve of the Earth from 120,000 feet. It's agreed upon by both sides that observably Earth's flat. So no, it's not a claim. That's agreed upon by both sides. It's the starting premise. Also, it's the starting premise of your maths. It's also the fundamental premise when your geodetic surveyors map out the territory. They assume it's flat by way of a tangent plane. So it's not a claim I'm making. It's just the standard that we deal with in general reality. Not a claim.
Yeah. So based on your
Also, your man, when he's
observations,
doing
right?
all his refraction mathematics, he does it on plane surfaces. That too.
So this result is based on your observations, right?
Sorry, your geometric horizon that you asserted when we joined
Forget
this
about the
conversation.
geometric horizon
You
right
don't
now.
need to talk through
Just-
me. I know you've tried to change the subject and ask me a few questions, but that's not going to happen until you accept that you've made a claim about a globe Earth that you think you live on, utilising a horizon that doesn't exist. I'd like you to acknowledge that at least once before we move on. I'll move on if you acknowledge that you've got an imaginary horizon that only exists in your globe Earth reification model. Once you acknowledge that, we'll move on to whatever you like.
No, I just think that you are not understanding.
Oh, you just think that I don't understand? I think you've got a horizon that doesn't exist that you're yet to concede, even though we've smashed you over your head with it about 5 times. And you just want to move on and tell me that I don't understand? That's not going to wash either. An ad hominem attack's definitely not going to succeed in us moving on. An acknowledgement that you don't have the horizon required for your globe belief. That would be a geometric horizon. You don't have one. I need you to acknowledge that, because that's what the reality of the situation is. It's been debunked by this image on screen. It's called the Black Swan. Look into it.
Yeah, and what about the other image?
Sorry, a
on-
question for me then, not an acknowledgement that you don't have a geometric horizon then. A question for me, maybe.
Okay, I didn't understand that completely.
Yeah, you started by phrasing a question to me. What about is a question. No, I'm waiting for an acknowledgement that the horizon we started this conversation, the one that's not a second horizon we don't have. I'm waiting for you, the fundamentalist religious zealot, to acknowledge you don't have that which you require in your globe Earth model. You haven't. You won't, because you're a fundy zealot. So you want to move on because this is painful. You don't want to relinquish your sphere Earth horizon because you need it, even though it doesn't exist and isn't real. That's why you won't acknowledge it. But I'm more than content to do this all day with you squirming like a little pig trying to move on to a different subject, because that's amusing. How big a zealot you are is amusing.
No, I'm still at the same subject. I'm still at the horizon, and I want to know from
Which one?
you
Which
why
one?
ships and
Which one? What, the horizon you've made a claim about? The one that I haven't made a claim about? That horizon? Yeah, you don't need to start asking me questions about this horizon that you've made a claim about. I haven't made any claims about it. You have, and it's been smashed, but you're yet to acknowledge that you want to move on to my thoughts about the horizon? Yeah, mate, this is really poor and very weasel-like, because you just need to concede you don't have a geometric horizon, because you don't, and you've already basically told us that by your own words. your own description of the mathematical calculation on No Atmo Day, yet you don't have a physical geometric horizon. I'm not going to be challenged about a claim I haven't made about the horizon. I'm not making any claim. I'm challenging yours, and you're yet to concede. It's funny, though.
Yes, okay, you challenge me, and I show you a boat or a city or a wind turbine that's behind the visual horizon. That's what I see, and that tells me that the Earth is actually curved. Point.
Bro.
Oh, so when you see something behind the visual horizon, your model, Chocolate, you're getting in between the discussion. I don't know if you've noticed. So, mate, so what? The horizon's geometric on that day, is it? When it's blocking boats and buildings, it's a geometric horizon that day.
Again, I don't speak about the geometric horizon.
So it's a geometric horizon that's being used to block boats and buildings according to the maths of geometry that you'll use to have that physical sphere edge horizon blocking the boats and buildings you just described. Now, I've just pointed out that would mean that on that day it is geometric, and you're saying, no, I'm not saying that? So what the hell's blocking the boats and buildings then, if it's not a geometric physical sphere edge? I'll assure you now that you're double speaking, and it is now a geometric horizon that we've debunked and you're now claiming is physically blocking things with its physical geometry. You double speaking fundy zealot. Yeah, that's why you won't relinquish it, because you need it for your globe belief, like you've just proven. Hello? Yeah, laugh it up like you did last time, Fundy. Because, yeah, to have an assertion that boats and buildings are blocked by a physical edge, that would be your geometric horizon that you simultaneously say, we can only see if we remove all atmosphere, it's never really visible. What? Unless it's blocking boats and buildings? DOS. Second time.
The last minute was ununderstandable.
Oh, right, well then you're a retard, because I'm very clear. Simple. You've just asserted that this horizon blocks boats and buildings now. That would make it physical and geometric by nature. But we've debunked that, you weren't conceding it, and now I know why. Because immediately after your failure to concede that you don't have this geometric horizon, you claimed it was blocking boats and buildings. That's why you need it, but don't want to relinquish it. You haven't got one. And only minutes earlier you're telling us about why we don't have one. But yet now it's blocking boats and buildings? Have fun, mate.
Does anyone understand what he said?
Yes, it's coming in loud and clear.
He's saying your model requires a geometric horizon, defines it as the visible horizon, right? But you and all your cohorts are now telling us that there is no geometric horizon. We can't see it, being that we have an atmosphere. So you guys have debunked your own model saying that. Do you not understand that? Now you want to tell us, after saying that boats and ships are disappearing because of that same horizon that you just said doesn't exist? Do you not understand the problem that you're having?
No, it's called cognitive dissonance.
That story has changed. Now it's that we can see
Sorry,
it, but
guys.
only when we're very high. 1 second, I'm speaking. That story has changed. It's now we can't see it, but only when we're very high.
We can see it when we're going through all those different layers of atmosphere that they argue about when they're talking about the pressure gradient. They think that will cause less refraction. Oh, well, they're very much mistaken. I'll point that out next time someone comes here and claims that.
I know a lot of people who see a lot of things when they're very high.
So yeah, we've debunked their models. They don't have a geometric horizon. They, as this dude did, describe how it's all refracted. Well, to do geometry, as they do, to claim that boats and buildings are blocked by a physical geometric horizon, they're going to need a tangent point to do geometry. That would be an assumption that you do have a physical, visible, geometric horizon that you can draw a straight line to. Not refracted, bendy lines. That's not a tangent. You can't do geometry with that. How are you going to assert that boats and buildings are blocked by a physical geometric horizon if you can't draw a straight line tangent to that point because it's all refracted? That undoes the geometry. How are you going to do geometry if it's all refracted? You haven't got a tangent. What are you going to do? You're not going to do anything. That's the end of your globe belief and your globe model and your globe geometry. You're all telling us how undone it is by refraction. Game over, globe. Game over, globe geometry. It's on screen now for my audience. This line here, that's straight. And this point here is a tangent point. And they're telling us all about how the line to this point here is actually bent. Not a tangent at all. Of course, that does undo the geometry that relies upon tangents. But they still assert it because they're retards. They don't realise that geometry needs tangents when they tell us that it's all refracted.
Well, Nathan, he said at the beginning, it's calculated, which means never physically seen. He said it's on a sphere, which is a model. And he said there's no atmosphere, which has never happened because anyone who calculates anything would have to have atmosphere because you can't live without it. So you can't see it, but it's there in their model. So his claims only work on the model, not in reality.
According
what you
to
actually
Jesse
see is just the
Kozlowski,
light.
looking across a lake when something drops away from your eye line, then that's our curve. But according to this guy, it's when something rises up in the air that's our curve. For 5 years, they can't decide whether it's something is dropping away from you or something is rising up in the air is our curve. They can't decide which is our curve.
After 5 years, they decided that we've never seen that Earth curve, aka geometric horizon. Never seen it. So how did we ever calculate it again?
What you see is the light, and the light is bent by
so we-
refraction, by
I
the
see.
atmosphere, and that's why you only see a bent horizon and not the geometric horizon.
I see. So
That's
we've
the
only...
simple explanation.
Okay, thank you.
What
So,
do you
no,
understand?
it's okay, I've got this. Thank you. So the line to the horizon's bent?
The light is bent.
Yeah, that would be what we see of it. So we're not going to be drawing a straight line then? It's a bent line. You know what refracted means, right?
What do you-
Deviated from straight?
You could, for example, take a thin string and completely make it straight, drive out with a boat, and over the horizon, and sometime the string, the physical string that's not bent by any air, will touch the horizon at 1.2 miles or so if you are 1 feet up. But the light actually does bend over the curve. And that's why you can.
Okay, that's fine. And
sometimes
where does
look
it say?
further.
Where does it say to establish this in any of the Earth curve calculators? Does it say that we need to do this to verify that we are actually dealing with a physical geometric sphere edge horizon? Does it say that in any of those calculations that we need to drag out a piece of string to the physical horizon just to verify that it is actually there? Has that ever been presented by anybody ever? Have you ever done that?
I've not done that because I don't have a boat also.
Oh, right. So when they present the Earth curve maths, it doesn't get done that way. It's just assumed that the horizon's a physical geometric edge blocking boats and buildings then. It doesn't actually have anything that would confirm your, what's the word, musings, your ideas. Nobody does this. This has never been done. You've never done it. But it's apparently, what, a rebuttal to the fact that we don't have a geometric horizon and we can't draw a straight line. It's all bent. You haven't addressed my question, by the way. My question was, so we can't draw a straight line to it then, refracted, as you describe it, to the horizon. That would mean that it's deviated from straight and we can't draw a tangent. Also, it would mean that we haven't got a geometric horizon to draw a tangent to anymore, because it's not geometric anymore, it's refracted. So, based on what you've told me with this refracted, deviated from straight line, we're not going to be drawing a tangent because we haven't got a straight line, we can't see one, and we haven't got a geometric horizon to draw a straight line to because we haven't got a geometric horizon. So, that would be the end of your geometry then, it needs all those things.
No, we still have the geometric horizon.
And no, you don't have a geometric horizon. You've just described how light's all been refracted to it and we can't see it. It's not in a position of geometry anymore. It's in a position of refracted now. So if we have got a geometric horizon, given that nobody's drawn out pieces of string to anything ever, that's never been done, what do you mean we've got one? A horizon is the demarcation point between land and sea. So you saying that the horizon that we see is refracted, yet we do have another demarcation point between land and sea that we don't see. This is a circle jerk. This is where we came in, mate. We don't have two horizons. Now, given that we've gone through this conversation in its entirety once, and we got to the point where you conceded that we don't see the geometric horizon, therefore it's not a horizon, It's just not real. You didn't concede over and over again last time, and then you asserted that boats and buildings were blocked by that which we can't see. Do you understand, mate? It's called cognitive dissonance.
You don't understand.
I don't understand. I don't understand this thing that we've gone through twice. It's me. I'm thick. My fault. Me dumb.
Dude.
No, we only have one horizon. According to you, that horizon's being bent as we see it, therefore not geometric. And to be a horizon, it must be a demarcation point between land or sea and sky. Now, this isn't a visible location, therefore isn't a horizon. Therefore, fact, we don't have a geometric horizon. I do understand. You are, on the other hand, a fundamentalist circle-jerking retard. You don't understand. One horizon. Comprende? Yeah, third time's a charm. Laugh it up, you fundy zealot. If it's not marking out the point between land and sea, it's not a horizon. Therefore, we don't have this second geometric horizon that apparently you're going to draw a string out to, even though that's never been done, and it wouldn't be a horizon if it isn't marking out land, sea, and sky. So even your string example doesn't give you a second horizon, because a horizon's visible, you moron. You don't understand.
You don't.
Oh, you're going to scream at me that I don't understand. No, mate. You're a retard. You think that we've got this second demarcation point that isn't visible? No, mate, you're a retard. Don't shout at me. You'll be berated by me for your lack of comprehension about what a horizon is.
Dude, what's funny?
Are you talking to me?
Destruction of the globe is funny.
It's funny how he just switched into rage mode if he doesn't understand what I'm...
Excuse me, I do understand. Yeah, I'm going to get pissed off. Yeah, I am going to flip into rage mode, and I'm going to berate the fundy zealot that thinks that a position that's in his geometric maths that he's going to pull a piece of string out to is a horizon. No, mate. You are thick, and I'm going to tell you off for your stupidity. Just because you can pull a string out to a position you fantasize about and is marked in your model doesn't make it a demarcation point between land and sky or sea and sky. That's what a horizon is. You're so stupid that you think pulling a piece of string out gives you a visible demarcation point between land or sea and sky. No, retard. This isn't amusing. It's irritating to me, the one that does understand. And you, the thicko, who keeps telling us that pulling a piece of string out gives him a horizon. No, retard. Your string doesn't give you a visible demarcation point. Don't you understand, stupid idiot? Yeah, I'm going to tell you off.
Oh, Nathan, I love you too.
What, love me for telling you off about how stupid you are? That just makes you a twat. You think it's funny when you get demonstrated to be stupid with your non-visible, only existing in a model horizon that you tell me I don't understand? I understand what a horizon is. You don't.
That's your point of view.
No, it's not my point of view. A horizon is a visible demarcation point between land and sea. That's not my point of view. That's what a horizon is. You think it's where you drag a piece of string out to match up with a fucking model. That makes you a retard. Not my point of view, mate. Fact.
Dude,
And your horizon magically moves further. Sorry, my horizon. What? The horizon.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you real quick? Do you know what your side has been calling the horizon since this argument has come out? You know what they've been calling it? Just to save time, I'll tell you. They've been calling it the apparent horizon. Do you know why that is?
Are you talking to me right now?
He's asking you why they call it apparent. It's redundant, but why would they call something that is apparent by nature, meaning you can see it, why would they add this redundant term of apparent to it?
Yeah, because it just appears to be there.
Oh, appears? Like you can see it? Unlike this piece of string example, you shithead. Dumb, retard, motherfucker. Visible then, you fucking retard! You laugh it up, you fuckwit retard. You're dumb. You understand what I'm saying to you? You are stupid.
Yeah, bro. Like that's what I was trying to point out to you. Like ever since this argument, it has been pretty much known by your side that we don't have a geometric horizon. We've never seen it, right? It's not possible to see it. But they've decided to call the horizon that we do see the apparent one. Like Nathan said, that's redundant. It's literally defined as an apparent position, like you just said yourself. But apparent would also mean you'd have to see it, guy. So you can't see it, so it's therefore not a horizon. But the one that we do see, yes, that is apparent because we do see it. You understand your plight now.
We do.
We got to the question and he talked through you because it's painful.
About what Biruni said about refraction.
Was that Chikey Wingman saving his dying friend from accepting that he doesn't have this second horizon that he's drawing a piece of string out to? You understand that that's not a visible location then, therefore not a horizon then, mate?
But there couldn't be a horizon on a flat Earth.
Sorry, that's just another burden of proof reversal fallacy. So we're going through the same steps you went through last time with me. Not an acceptance that it's not a visible location, you're pulling a piece of string out to a question for me.
If it's not in the globe, no horizon for you.
Right, exactly.
I want to know only Biruni's studies about refraction.
Hey, I got him. May I?
Yeah, sure.
Please. All right. Toklid made reference to it. Andrew Thomas Young said all our refraction calculations were done on a plane. And he's saying you can't have a horizon on the flat Earth. Well, then how did Andrew Thomas Young say all his refraction calculations were done on the plane?
It's simple, 10th man. On a
No,
flat
him.
Earth, you can't
Stop,
have
stop.
Let him answer.
Yes.
Not you.
Answer that question.
Yeah, they did it with an angle.
What?
That's not him. That's Chikey. Don't let him read.
Oh my
God. Not Chikey, the other
Shut
guy.
up, you idiot.
Chikey, I'll get back to you because you said if there isn't a geometric horizon, there isn't a horizon at all. We'll get to your nonsense later. I want the other guy.
Yeah, the other guy. He's asking why your website and reference, that would be Andrew Thomas Young, describes refraction effects on a flat plane only.
Where is he? He was so eager to interrupt before. See, I hear this all the time about it can't be on the flat Earth, except all their refraction studies came from that.
Plus,
I have a question.
Maybe
Hang on.
they just can't
Is he
figure out a
gone?
model to make it work.
Is he
hold on,
No,
gone?
he's probably just going to say that. Oh, you talking to me? That's what he's going to say because he doesn't want the answer.
Well, let's see.
No,
3
he's not
seconds.
gone. He's
Okay,
not
if
gone.
you're-
He's still there.
What's his name?
WTF, dude.
Hey, WTF, dude.
That
What
works.
can't
What the
happen
fuck,
on the
dude?
flat Earth again? Say that again. What can't happen on the flat Earth again?
I don't answer any questions anymore. I'm just listening because Nathan is anyways just shouting at me,
So,
and I
Light
don't want to
said-
hear him.
Oh, my bleeding heart. Nathan shouted at me for pointing out that somewhere I drag a string out to isn't actually a horizon as per my depiction in my funding model. And when I said that he didn't understand, he told me off for that. So I'm not talking to you anymore.
And it's okay for you to laugh in our face, right?
Know when you need.
So,
Bozo.
Andrew
Cry
Thomas,
for me,
Share your pain.
yes, it's pretty funny. Andrew Thomas Young says that refraction works on the flat Earth.
No
Leo
horizon
says
for
quit
you.
talking and you're
Wait a
done.
minute, though. If everything is observably flat, then it would have to work on a flat Earth, right?
Right. That's why the Thomas Young's refraction calculations were done on the plane, then converted with geometric considerations to match their model.
Yeah, it's called terrestrial refraction. They use the radius for their terrestrial refraction. It is a mammoth circle jerk of epic proportions because they get their radius from Al Booby Bruni, who took it from, guess what? The horizon. See the circle jerk yet? Oh, if you're not seeing it, just stay tuned for the next 3-4 weeks. Get ready.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a day! What a lovely day!